Hi everyone, welcome back to the Gallowgateshots YouTube channel. Welcome back to another match preview after a hard-fought battle at Old Trafford. Newcastle are now going to go home and we entertain Everton on Wednesday night. I'm Scott, I'm your host for this one. I'm joined tonight by Harry, Daryl and member of the Gallowgateshots YouTube channel, Graeme. Harry, how are you? Have you calmed down after watching Bruno?
I have, yes. I will not be getting this podcast / video demonetized today, so we'll be chill as long as Pickford doesn't come in the conversation and Anthony Gordon will be fine.
Well, I make no promises. Their names may come up again later on in this episode. Daryl, you were at Old Trafford yesterday. How was the trip, and are you fully recovered?
It was a good trip. I had to be fully recovered because I was at work this morning. Got back about 8 o'clock last night. Managed to get back in one fell swoop without stopping. So it was a solid trip back. Solid performance on the pitch as well, like you said. Botman and Shea absolutely just dominating at the back. Fighting with every last tooth, nail and drop of blood and sweat and God knows what else they had in them. Because they took a few batterings on a couple of occasions. You know, there's a lot of talk about the penalty with Callum Wilson, and at the time wasn't quite sure, so was quite happy to let it slide. You see it back on TV, and you sort of wonder, well, actually, probably is a point. And then you've got pundits saying, well, it's the penalty, and you're like, it's not something you're really used to hearing pundits starting to say, well, you just should have had a penalty, and that's all. It's a little bit weird. And then obviously there's a few instances on their side as well, mainly crying, moaning, whinging. Surrounding the referee as well, which was just an absolute farce. But yeah, came away with a point. Happy with that. Would have taken it beforehand, and like you say, it's still one loss all season, and best goal difference, best goals conceded in the league as well.
Absolutely. We'll talk a little bit about the game yesterday after I introduce Graeme to everybody. Graeme is a member of the Gallowgateshots channel. Welcome, Graeme, and thanks for joining me.
Thanks very much. Thanks for the invite.
Yeah, how are you? Yeah, no
worries.
Good.
No worries at all. Yeah, all good. Managed to watch the game yesterday, so managed to see it. Just echo what Daryl said. It was a massive battling performance yesterday. But I think especially first half, we're a better team, and I think we could have probably deservedly went in, up front at half time. Joe Linton hitting the post and the bar, just very Joe Linton again. It's just so unlucky, and the penalty definitely as well. But clinging on at the end, I thought Botman shot at the end, just Botman's an absolute Rolls Royce of a defender. He's just going to get better as well. Deserved point, possibly a penalty each. Probably get onto that later, but I think coming away with a point was great, and it was good to see the moaning Man U players on the pitch and the fans off the pitch as well. It was like the theatre of dreams, where the dream it's still the 90s, and then wonder what's going on when they wake up.
So. Absolutely, it was like Dallas all over again with JR in the shower. And if you don't know reference, I bet you, Harry, you don't know that reference.
No.
Then you're in good company. So yesterday we'll touch on it a little bit. Obviously the nil, and I said the 1-1 draw there. It wasn't 1-1, it was 0-0. You mentioned Joe Linton there, Graeme. He doesn't seem to be able to do it in the box, does he? He just I think he gets a bit fuzzy-headed when he gets in the box. He's perfect everywhere else, but once he gets into that 12-yard box, he just seems to fold like a deck of cards.
Yeah, it's either that happens, or he just has horrific bad luck as well. I think it's a combination of both at times. At least this time he didn't manage to, kick the ball into his own face like he did last season and stuff, which was we're almost at that point yesterday, but it was just a few times sorry for him. But at least it was funny. He sees the funny side of it as well. He's just laughing in a kind of, what more do I have to do? But like you say, the rest of the pitch, he does it. So I guess we have to forgive him at times those things, and hopefully that his luck changes and he just start banging a few goals in.
It was nice that he hit the ball off his head, at least, and he meant it this time. It wasn't coming off his boot. He headed it off the crossbar and then headed it off the post. It was a string of bad luck. Harry, your opinions on the game yesterday, mate?
I think we're pretty all right, to be honest. We did do well. Man United probably should have scored 2 with Fred and Rashford's chance. The whole game was awful. I was slightly hungover, not ridiculously hungover, but enough to be hungover to be extremely worried throughout the whole game. And then obviously the Man United and the players complaining, but we're not going to get onto that. Annoyed me slightly. Penalty, Wilson, 100%. And then looking back on the Joe Linton chances, I think he probably should have got the second one in. The first header is a brilliant header. Yes, it comes off the bar. But I think the second one, at the time, all my mates were having a go and saying, nah, he should have been scoring. I was like, no, he's lovely. He's such a nice bloke. Leave him alone. Look at his smile. He's gorgeous. But no, I think the second one probably should have gone in. But I kind of complain with the draw away at Old Trafford, especially when they haven't drawn this season yet as well. It just shows what a brilliant defence we do have.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I saw the ref watch a clip of it on YouTube today, and the referee, I can't remember the guy's name, he said it was a foul, but it wasn't a penalty. So make of that what you will. It's one of those where I do think actually if it is anywhere else on the pitch, you're getting a foul. Just takes them out pretty much, straight away. You'd hear that whistle go, and the referee would maybe even be branching a card depending on the run, because it was quite an at speed challenge, Daryl.
Yeah, it happens so quick. And the thing that made me think it wasn't going to be given anyway was because at the point where the contact was made between Varane and Wilson, the ball was already away from Wilson, and you had Dalot coming back in from the side there to assist Varane. So there was two of them around him at the time the contact was made and he went down. I'm a bit gutted, to be honest, because that's my 5th visit to Old Trafford, and it's the first time that I haven't seen us score. I was there for the 1-0 back in 2012-13, I think it was, with the Brazil kit, and I've seen us score a further 4 times on the next 3 visits. But it's the first draw I've had at Old Trafford, and I'm quite happy it was a 0-0, to be fair.
Yeah, we talked about it last week that Man U don't really convert many of their shots. So none of us predicted a 0-0 draw, but we did mention that it could possibly be that because Man U hadn't drew all season and they got the first one. Anyways, we're not here really to talk about last week's game. We are here to look forward to the Everton game. Before we do that, I do need to let everybody know that this Gallowgateshots match preview is brought to you by Magpin. Magpin are the go-to site for high-quality, unofficial, enamelled pin badges of Newcastle players, legends, and retro kits. If you want more information on Magpin, their website is magpinbadges.bigcartel.com. So then, as I mentioned previously, Newcastle are on a midweek Wednesday night under the lights at St James's Park. Home game against Everton. It's on Amazon, I believe, for you lot.
They're all on Amazon. Every single one of them this midweek, yeah.
Fun and games, yeah. It's on Viaplay for me, which I get every game on Viaplay, and it's the worst commentary you'll ever hear because it's all in Dutch, so I don't understand a word of it. Everton are currently sitting in 14th position in the league. They only have had 2 wins all season, and they also have 4 draws and 4 losses. They're coming off the back of 2 consecutive defeats against Spurs and Man U. Harry, I'll come to you first on this one. How are your confidence levels going into the Everton game?
I watched the Spurs game, Everton versus Spurs, and I know there was chat in the group chat as well, but they didn't offer much going forward. And when you got a defence like ours, that means they're going to do naught. Now, I hope I don't come back to this and say, oh, well, they did do quite a lot. But I'm fairly confident, to be honest. I am confident. I think if we're pressed the way that we usually do at home, although I do think they have a good defence. Yes, I know the league table didn't really say that, but I do think they've got a pretty good defence. Fairly solid. Tarkowski is a great player. I am confident we'll get the win. I am very confident we'll get the win. I'll be gutted if we don't, to be honest. But I suppose we'll see what happens. But I think with Everton as well, they can offer stuff going forward. Calvert-Lewin can be a great number 9, and he has shown that in the past. Maybe not recently. And I know he's with injuries and things like that. And Iwobi's in form as well. But no, I'm fairly confident for the game coming up on Wednesday.
Yeah, you mentioned about goals and us keeping clean sheets. Everton have only scored 8 this season, which is under half than what we've returned currently this season with 17. Graeme, are you confident of a clean sheet this week?
It's a funny one, this. Yes, I think we will get a clean sheet. I did watch the Spurs game as well, and I think Everton are probably going to play a similar way where they're going to sit back and try and frustrate her and catch her on the break. So we just probably need to be a bit aware of that, because they probably can cause a bit of danger up top, and they are fairly solid. But I just think first game under the lights this season at St James's, I think the atmosphere is going to be bouncing. And I think we might get onto like team selection a little bit, but I think you probably play strongest team with a view to potentially resting people for the weekend at Spurs, because I think this is a home game that we really want to take points off Everton.
Yeah, it'll help us climb the table if we do get a victory against Everton. We will leapfrog our previous opponents, provided they obviously don't get a result as well, and put us into 5th. Daryl, this part of the season being 5th or 6th in the league as we currently are we in dreamland? Is this expected?
I mean, as far as I'm concerned, we're actually over-delivering on that. I would like to see we try and maintain this sort of position before this, like when the season breaks for the World Cup next month. If we're still anywhere between where we are now and even 9th or 10th, I think it'll set up fantastically for the second half of the season. And just go back to what Harry and Graeme were saying there, Everton will pose a threat going forward, especially with Anthony Gordon probably coming back into the squad for this one. And Graeme, he's right. I think we'll probably come in and play with the low block and sit back and frustrate the hell out of us. I think a lot of it will come down to whether or not Frank even dares to play Jordan Pickford on Wednesday night. And if he does, it'll be down to us to get in his head as we usually do and cause him to have a bit of a wobble. Maybe even get an hour or two out of him like we have done successfully in the past. I think Frank sort of learned that lesson previously and he has made the change. But I think, there's ways to get at Everton, and he's definitely one of them. It will pose a threat, even though he's playing at wing back. He'll still pose that threat going forward. But in terms of where we are now, I'm smiling.
Good. That's good to hear. Yeah, you mentioned Gordon. He is back from his suspension from last week. Do wonder if that makes Everton change their approach at all to how they set up against Spurs. Other injuries that they currently have, Godfrey's out, Townsend, Patterson. I've got Colgate here. I'm pretty sure it's called Holgate. I think my autocorrect changed that there in my notes. And Yerry Mina as well is potentially out. So they've got a bit of a list. Andros Townsend we all know about from his short spell in the black and white stripes. I'll stick with you, Daryl, on this one. In terms of Anthony Gordon coming back, do you think that changes their game plan, or do you think it's just as you were, just with a different personnel?
I think it will slightly change their game plan. I mean, you mentioned that the Spurs game from Saturday, they only had 4 attempts on goal. None of them were on target, and they had nothing at all in the second half of that game. All their shots came in the first half. So I think having Gordon in their team will probably give them a little bit more of a threat going forward, and they'll probably look to develop a bit more from him, linking up with Calvert-Lewin in attack. Whether or not it changes the system, I don't know. If they want to sit in there and play with the low block, they'll just play with the back 5 like they normally do. Probably put Gordon just in behind Calvert-Lewin and go from there. Like I say, they'll want to make it difficult, so they'll probably want to sit in and block us out.
Yeah, Harry, you've already mentioned James Tarkowski there, or Tarkowski, who was a new signing for Everton in the summer. I think they got him on a free in the end from Bournemouth, Brentford, Burnley. It's one of the bees. Yeah, one of the bees. Isn't it? They also got Connor Cody, who was quite widely linked with us for a little bit. I believe not so much in the summer, but in the January window, he was a big name, as was Tarkowski. Does that defense that Everton have, does it worry you at all? Because I mentioned earlier they've only scored 8, but they've only conceded 11, which is quite a low number of goals. Obviously, it's nowhere near the 9 that we've only conceded, but it's still a low number, especially for that bottom half of the table. If you look kind of a bit further down, you've got 18s and 24s and 23s as goals against. So there doesn't seem to be many high-scoring games against Everton. Do you think that has a lot to do with their new back line? Or at least their new back pair?
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's a lot of experience there. Obviously, you have Seamus Coleman, who's been there for years. Cody coming in, captain for Wolves. fantastic experience. And obviously, I know he's a Liverpool fan, but he knows the area, and that, I think that always gives you a bit more. Same as with Dan Burn, to be honest. I think it always gives you a bit more fight. But it'll be interesting to see how we play. I think that'll be what it ultimately comes down to. Because if it is how the majority of us think it'll be, in them sitting back, then it'll be us to break them down. And that's why we have players like Bruno, and hopefully Wilson making runs in behind. Because we're off Max Uniz, which is a big kick in the balls, really. Because we're all hoping to have them both back to cause some damage. But yeah, Cody Tarkowski, I think that parent's a really good parent for Everton. I think if they didn't have those two, I think they'd be in a much worse position than they are at the minute. I know they didn't start the season very well, and they're still in a position where it can go either way for them. But no, I think that's done them massive favours, having those two at the back.
Absolutely. Like I said, they're sitting in 14th on 10 points, but I mean, they're only 2 points off the relegation zone. Graeme, do you expect Everton to be fighting for relegation like they were last season?
Yes, I do. I think there's probably some better teams than them in the league that pick up. You can see Leicester at some point fighting away out of where they are. Forest probably going to stay there, I think. And you look at the table, you've got kind of Southampton, Wolves, Villa, Leeds and Everton. So you think Villa and Everton, I think, are both going to be in a relegation fight again for me. It could be one of those two that might go this season.
It'll be interesting to see. We'll turn our attention to Newcastle. I'll stick with you, Graeme, on this one. Obviously, we'll talk a little bit about some injuries. Harry's already mentioned that we got some bad news about St. Maximum and Isak. St. Maximum doesn't look to be as bad as Isak, where House St. Isak, we won't see him until after the World Cup. But for St. Maximum, they said 3 games, and I think Man U was the first of that 3, and really, that's only a week. When you think of it in the grand scheme of things, you think 3 games, you think, oh wow, he's out for a while. It's not that bad. Were you surprised in that news break, and considering Eddie Howe's press conference on Friday, where he said there was no new injuries? Or was it Thursday? We said there was no new injuries, but they did have a training session to go.
Yeah, I was shocked. It was a really positive press conference as ever by Eddie. He was talking about the team. Obviously, he did say there was no injuries bar new training session. So to hear that Saint had broke down again was a worry, and it's kind of, he's missed quite a lot of games recently and a little bit last season as well. And just hope we can kind of need to make sure to get him fit and keep him fit, because he's just a massive player for us, and it makes a massive difference when he's not in the team. And you saw kind of last week when he came on as a sub in the second half, it was great because we're already 3-0 up or something by the time, or 3-1, sorry, when he came on. And he could just do what he wanted, and it was great because it was like that luxury of having just get him to run at people, and you just realise what you're missing when he's not there. And then when he comes on in a game like that, and just see what he gives us and what he gives the team. And it's just such a shame the amount of injuries we seem to be getting players back, and just as they get fit, someone else gets injured. So we've never, look at the table, we're 6, but we haven't at one point had our full strength team out yet. So I can't, like everyone else, probably can't wait till we've got Isak, Saint, Wilson, Bruno, all in the team. And obviously the Shelby to come back as well. That was a shock for me as well at the weekend, seeing Shelby on the bench. Seeing the kind of preview on social media of him getting off the bus and stuff that was kept really quiet.
Yeah.
And I just wonder whether he might get some minutes on Wednesday as well.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see with Shelby. Obviously, we were expecting probably him not to be back until after the World Cup, similar to Isak now. Yeah, you mentioned about our injuries. The list was slowly going down week by week as we were rattling them off. And obviously, apart from the long terms with, it's Kraft now because it was Shelby was on there. You've got Richie and Darlow, who were the other 2, which you'd argue probably wouldn't really feature in the side much anyway this season. So you can kind of, you don't want to write them off because they're still squad players, they still have a squad number, but you can kind of say, well, okay, if you look at that now, we've got 3 potential first team players who were injured in Kraft, Saint and Isak. Daryl, you mentioned Fabian Schär, obviously his antics with Botman at the weekend. He came off and apparently he couldn't walk if you read his social media, but he has declared himself fit. Obviously, it's not up to him to do that, but he has said I should be fine. He is a potential worry if he is injured or if he isn't 100%. Do you think Howe would risk him for this game, or do you think you'll rest him and bring in Lascelles?
I think you'll probably see how he's fared in the recovery session today and whatever they do tomorrow. Judging by what we saw on the field, it might have just been a bit of a severe case of cramp, because he wasn't the only player that went down with that issue, because Bruno went down. His issue was cramp as well. And it's all about how you recover from that sort of thing. And if the recovery's right from cramp, you'll be fine to play. I think if Eddie does want to make a change, I'd actually put the case in to just shuffle the line and move Botman across to the right-hand side, switch Byrne inside, and then put Targett in at left-back, because for some reason, Eddie likes to keep Dan Byrne in the team, and for me, that would be the easiest way to achieve that. And it also gives you a little bit more balance with Targett at left-back as a natural left-back. That's not to knock Byrne's performances at left-back, but he really got exposed by Anthony on Sunday, and when he got the yellow card, I was frightened for my life that he was going to pick up the second one pretty quickly. Thankfully, he didn't. I don't know how the hell they managed it, but, they did. But again, if you think about who Everton have in their ranks, it's effectively going to be Gordon, isn't it? Who's probably going to peel out on that side and target Dan Byrne if he's playing at left back. But again, if that's how I would play it, I think it would make sense for the whole balance of the team to put Lascelles and then have your right foot and your left foot a partnership. But I think we've seen so far from Botman, I certainly noticed it a couple of times on Sunday, that he was able to play lovely little ground passes out with his right foot onto the right side to Trippier or to Almiron, whoever was there. So yeah, I'll probably try and do it that way and just keep Dan Byrne in the team and put him alongside Botman in defence.
Absolutely. I think you're absolutely right about Botman. He's a very versatile player on the ball. He can pick a pass, and it seems as though he can play with both feet. I think he's got a good weak foot ability. If you look at those stats on FIFA, I know Harry, you've been absolutely pounding FIFA over the past couple weeks. What would your lineup be for Everton? Are you on the same as Daryl there, as either moving Dan Byrne down and putting Targett in the left back position?
No, I completely agree with Daryl. I think I was watching the Man United game. Just Dan Byrne got caught out so many times, unfortunately, and I honestly think he had a pretty poor game. To be honest, he just looked so out of place, especially when he got high up the pitch. And I remember when Anthony just ran past him and he's tried to stop, and I was like, "What have you done there? Like, you're completely stuck on the ground." And I don't knock him. He's a brilliant kind of centre half, but just fullback, I don't understand. And I know when Shaw went down and had like the kind of freak little jump that he had down the ditch, he started warming up Lascelles. And I was like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "Stop warming up Targett and then move Byrne into Shaw's position." I just think that's the right thing to do, especially when we saw what was going on. But I think that's how you change your back four. Obviously, you got Pope in goal. Your midfield, I think Sean Longstaff he's getting slow again. He got caught out on the ball maybe once or twice, but that's enough for me. Like, you can't be getting caught out on the ball, especially with your back like to your own goal. I think you have to bring Willock back in, and Joe Linton and Bruno. I think that has to be your starting three in midfield. Then the strike, your strikers stay exactly the same as well. Because, well, to be honest, I'd want to see Elliot Anderson instead of Jacob Murphy. That's what I'd want to see. I feel like we just need a bit more spice. Murphy just picks the ball up and does that and runs. That's what he does. And like, I can't knock him, but he's not a fantastic football player. He's championship quality. I think everyone knows, and I don't think it's harsh. Yes, he's been a brilliant term for the club and done some things for us, but he shouldn't be starting, especially for a top six club.
Hey. Yeah, I mean, obviously Murphy does still have he's got 4.5 years left of that lucrative 6-year deal that he signed. Yeah, you're shaking your head there, Graeme. I'm going to assume you're not Murphy's biggest fan at all.
No, no, just not. I know he's a boyhood Newcastle fan and all that backstory and everything, but for me, he's just. And I know he's had a couple of good games. It was great to see him get his goal. And he's had a couple of good games recently, but just generally, where we're going, he's not going to be there in 1 or 2 seasons' time. Appreciate he has got that long deal, so he's going to be difficult to get rid of, but he frustrates me to watch, and I just sometimes don't think he's at the level that we need. He'd probably struggle to get in most teams in the Premier League, unfortunately. I think I'd much rather see, given where we are, I'd much rather see Fraser there. I know he has obviously been frustrated at times as well. but I just think Fraser's got a bit more about him for me. And back to like in the Longstaff as well, I thought he was, again, he got caught out so many times yesterday. He was really lucky with a penalty that I thought probably was a penalty. And I think he did as well, looking by his face. And he seems to me he wants too much time on the ball. And you're not going to get that at Premier. You're certainly not going to get it at Old Trafford, and you don't get it in the Premier League. And he was just dispossessed. It's almost like he gets the ball and then he has to think about what he's going to do. And you contrast that with Bruno. Bruno's already looking to see where everybody is before the ball's got to him, and he can pass it off straight away. Whereas Longstaff, I think, gets it and then starts to look like, what more do I do now? And it's too late. And a lot of things break down, I think, through Longstaff from that as well.
Yeah, I think the best way I've thought about it, and I think Longstaff is a good player at home, where we've got a bit more time on the ball and we're not getting pressed by the home team. And he seems to play a bit better when he's not playing deep, when Bruno kind of takes that role and he's got a bit more, up front, a bit more player around him. But yeah, totally agree with you there, Graeme. He seems to take forever to just look around. It's almost like his neck's in a brace. He's got to move his whole body as opposed to just his head. And that I don't want to be too harsh on the lad because he has been decent for us of recent times. But I think, Harry, you're absolutely right in terms of, I think it's Willock, Bruno and Joe Linton are the three. And then maybe he's looking to bring Shelvey on to give Joe Linton or Bruno a rest. I've noticed over the past couple of games, obviously not the Man U game, but the Fulham and the Brentford game, we went 3-4 up and instantly Howe's like, right, I'm bringing 3 players on. And he changed the whole thing to rest players, yes, but I think it was also just to try new things and try players in certain positions where the game's won. You may as well experiment a little bit. It's nice to have that luxury on there. And obviously up front, I think, we're talking Callum Wilson. I think I put in our WhatsApp group that I long for the day when we have to take off Wilson and we're bringing on Isak or vice versa. Because the whole game just fell apart as soon as Wilson went off and we kind of had Wood. There was just no outlay up front. You just felt like Wood, bless him, he was trying, but I think up against someone like Varane, who's a physical player as well, he had no chance. He had no chance of winning any of those balls. And I don't recall him winning any of those kind of balls upfield.
I don't recall a cross.
No.
When he was on the pitch.
Just even like long balls from defence. I just don't even think he got any of those. I can't recall him touching the ball, if I'm being honest with you. I think he's got 1 or 2 little touches, but not much. So yeah, I think obviously you stick with Callum Wilson up front. Right, now's the fun part. We'll talk about our score predictions. Let's see if we can at least get one right this week. Daryl, I'll come to you first, mate.
As much as I fear that they'll come and sit and that we'll absolutely be frustrated to hell and really struggle to probably break down their low block, I think we will just find that key to unlock their door and we'll probably get a 2-0 win.
Harry, from you?
3-0 win, I think.
3-0.
I think, especially if we get an early goal, I think Everton aren't going to sit back. They can't. Like, what's the point? And just quickly going back to Shelvey as well, I think he could be the key, possibly. So if we're struggling for a goal as well, and they've got a very solid back line, Shelvey's balls within the box and just like out wide is much better, I feel, than what we did against Crystal Palace or Bournemouth. I can't remember which one it was, but where we just went left, right, like on the edge of the box. Shelvey plays a bit deeper and can kind of ping the balls across and things like that. I think he could possibly be the key to get that. But 3-0, I'm fairly confident, especially if Pickford plays. I'd love to see if he passed him.
Absolutely, yes. There'll be lots of inflatable T-Rexes in the crowd, no doubt, as well. I wonder if Raw Flags are making a dinosaur flag as well, just for the fun of it. Probably not. Graeme, your predictions, mate?
I think I'm going to go probably a mixture of both guys and go 3-1. I think they might nick one, but I think the key to us winning tomorrow is a good start. I think we need to come out of the blocks. I think the atmosphere needs to help with that. I think it will tomorrow night with it being under the lights in the first game, like I said earlier. But I think we need that early goal to kind of stop and make everything come out, like we're just talking about. Otherwise, I think the longer it goes on, the further and further back they'll sit potentially and just try and catch us. I think they might nick one, but I think quality will tell in the end. I think so. I'm going to go for a 3-1.
It's an interesting stat that if it is 3-1, that'll be the first game this season that Everton have been involved in where there's more than 3 goals. Every game has either been 1-1 or 2-1 or 2-0. There's been no more than 3 goals in any of their games. So I'm going to go for a 3-0 win. I'm going to go with Harry. I don't think Everton will score. I don't think they'll get a shot on target just similar to what they did against Spurs. I think they'll find it really hard. I think obviously they don't tend to do too well at St. James's Park at recent times. The crowd do usually build up a decent atmosphere and usually do get on their backs, especially if Pickford's playing. Yeah, I'm going to go 3-0. I think it'll be I'm going to go for a hat-trick as well. I'm going to go for a Callum Wilson hat-trick. It's only because I need the points on my FPL because I had an absolute stinker last week. But that's for the FPL show, which is also being recorded tonight. Does anybody want to add anything before we wrap up?
I just want to say I hope the lad with the T-Rex costumes there tomorrow night. I really want to see him back.
Yes. Yeah, so Harry, get that on before you get out there. Excellent. Well, thanks very much, everyone. I enjoyed that one. Good to see you, Graeme. And thanks, Harry and Daryl.
Cheers,
pleasure
boys.
as always. If you do like this content, we obviously do these match previews for every single game. No matter if there's 2, 3, 4 games in a week, we will try and get them out as soon as we can. There's also other content, as I mentioned, the FPL show, which is also being recorded tonight. And you've also obviously got your live podcast with the Always Smiling Faces and Extra Time on a Monday and a Thursday or a Friday, depending on how Roger's feeling. There's obviously plenty of other content as well. And if you like it and you want to be, notified when we get new videos out and you want to see them come up on your little YouTube feed when you open your app, scroll down from this video and hit that subscribe button. We've just surpassed 9,000. We're on the road to 10,000 subscribers. So if you would like to do that, that would be absolutely fantastic. Looking at the stats at the last one, 41% of people who watched this video were not subscribed. So if they all subscribed, we'd be on 20,000 easy. If you want to go that extra mile, we do have a membership program as well. It is $2.99 a month to become a member of the Gallowgateshots YouTube channel. That gets you early access to the videos. Probably not this week because of the short turnaround time of the games, but usually you'll get the match previews, the FPL show, and if Matty does a Beyond the Lines, you'll get all of those early access and any other little bonus videos we also do throughout the week. And you also get access to the Telegram group. You also get an opportunity to maybe be on a show. That's how I got my kind of start on the Gallowgateshots. Daryl, you as well.
Yeah,
Harry, I think
absolutely.
you as well. And Graeme, obviously, you're a member of the channel, and we've gotten you on board as well. So if you want to become involved, there's no guarantees, but be a member, and we might chuck you on a video. Thanks everyone for watching. Here's hoping for another 3 points. I say another 3 points. We drew the last game, but here's hoping for 3 more points to get us up that table, leapfrogging Man U, and get us into those European Champions League spots eventually, where we'll hopefully stay for the rest of the season and catapult us in front of that 5-year plan. Give us a 2-year lead advantage at least, I'm saying. Thanks everyone. See you next
How are the
time.
lads?
Bye-bye.
Come on.